okay, it might not be like this today. It might be like tomorrow today or next week today. But like spend the time thinking about it and planning it so that you can have a day like this. Because it always happens today. Hey, good morning. A little bit grey out here, but it's a beautiful day. Thanks for joining me for the morning walk. And today's the day. What's it all about? I'm going to tell you. Let's go for a walk and have a chat. One thing you may have noticed is that there is no Pixie today. No puppy dog running on the trail. She's been dropped off already at one of our friends' place. Mike, thank you, mate, for looking after our dog for 6 months, and to Steph too, who's our backup dog minder. And it's kind of funny, the last few days in the house, it's very weird if you're used to having an animal around and then suddenly they're not there anymore. It's all that process of adapting to a new environment and a new situation. It's kind of nice because we end up having this like little transition period where we're not yet on the road, but we're already adapting to not having some things. Which is part of the beauty of travellers. It gives you so much. And yet, sometimes you have to make do with very little. Very little. At some point I'll tell you about that backpacking trip across Europe that I did. Where I lived on $10 a day for like 4 months. Went on my very first big overseas trip by myself. Sort of 6 months heading off to the UK to do a student exchange. And took the flight from Sydney to Melbourne, from Melbourne to Singapore, Singapore to London. And the second flight flying out of Melbourne was just like revoltingly bumpy, right? Like the lady next to me was holding onto the chair, like looking like she wanted to just jump out of the plane because she wasn't very happy to be there. And I didn't know any better because it was one of my first plane trips. I mean, I've flown before, but only domestically. So my first very big plane trip. And I was like, oh, so is it supposed to be like this? I don't really know. And I guess I was just so naive back then as a 20-year-old heading out on my very first big adventure by myself. And now, years later, I've kind of done it a few times, so I know what I'm in for. It's a great adventure. Actually, just pausing to reflect for a moment, now I think about it, I don't think I do know what to expect. I think with these big trips as you get older, what you kind of learn to do is just to go with the flow a lot more than you otherwise would have. Oh, maybe that's the thing. I kind of expect to expect nothing and everything at the same time. It's kind of cool. And oh my, check this out. Oh, it's so good. I'm leaving on a trip around Australia today for 6 months. Oh man. This is so cool. I remember touching down in London at the start of January after I'd gotten off that long haul trip. I'd literally flown out of 30 degrees Sydney and into about like 3 degrees London. It's like dark by 4 o'clock. And having never experienced something like that before, it was a real culture shock. And I remember in my hometown here in Sydney, where I lived, I would say hello to people. When you're walking down the sidewalk, you just say hello. Just what you do. And I remember like walking through this kind of park in London in the dark because it was only 5 p.m, but it was already nighttime, and saying hello to all these people who would look at me like, I think one of the big things about these trips is that you've got to be ready to be out of your comfort zone a lot. Whether it's food or where you sleep or the people you meet. It can be scary committing to getting that far out of your comfort zone for that long. It's such a privilege. So if you ever get a chance to do a big trip, just seize it, because life is short, right? And one of the big regrets that people have, I've read books on this, haven't gotten to that age yet, but when they're getting close to the end, is they regret having not taken more chances and having done more things like going traveling and seeing the world. It doesn't mean you have to go far. You don't even have to leave your own country. just literally taking time out, whatever it is that you're doing, to go and see some of the world. It's funny to be talking about going travelling on big trips, and for the most part we can't travel internationally because international travel is banned and blocked off. I never would have thought in my life I would have seen a day where you literally can't get on an aeroplane and go flying somewhere, but there you go. Life throws interesting things at you, doesn't it? And I think, you know, if you think about all the great things that happened in your life, I'm thinking about mine, getting married, having kids, going traveling, starting the business, all the big wins, right? All of those things happened like today. Not tomorrow, not in a week, but like today. It can be so easy to make endless plans, store them up, and tell ourselves like, yeah, I'm gonna do that one day. I tell you what, we've been planning this trip for like 4 or 5 years, planning it. But it starts today. And there's a freaking good lesson in that for all of us, I think, which is whatever it is that you've been wanting to do, start it today. Start it today. Okay, it might not be like this today. It might be like tomorrow today or next week today. But like spend the time thinking about it and planning it so that you can have a day like this. Because it always happens today. I'm Rob Malicki. Thanks for joining me for a walk this morning. I don't know where I'm going to see you next, but I can guarantee you it's going to be somewhere out on the road in this amazing country. 5 years planning, and it begins right now. Whatever you're getting up to, I hope it's a good one. And I'll see you next time on the morning walk. Have an awesome day.